You hear me in the back? Good? All right, I'm reading a novel called Johnny Love and the Department of Love on Earth. I'm going to read from the preface, so we're going to talk about world building. Just kidding. Johnny is in love with Janice. Johnny dies. Johnny now goes to the afterlife, and he has to work in the Department of Love on Earth. And his latest assignment is to make Janice fall in love with a man whom Johnny despises because he's part of a band called Meat Pants. Johnny sat behind a stack of speakers backstage at the Red Devil Lounge waiting for the Meat Pants show to start. He'd arrived early and been waiting uncomfortably for over an hour, invisible, knees pressed to his chest, drinking beers and watching the world through Janice's eyes on his soul sight. Damn thing wasn't much use, not when it actually came to seeing her, unless she was in front of a mirror, or when Janice was with Robert Fouquet and Johnny was watching through his eyes. That was just weird. It was one thing for Johnny's eyes to linger on Janice's cleavage when she wasn't paying attention, but Robert took it to obscene levels. Pervert. It had been a week since Johnny's interview with Patty Paradise, and this assignment still remained unfinished. It wasn't entirely his fault, though. Meat Pants had been on a short tour. Their small but faithful following, the band called them Skullfuckers, was passionate about their spastic over-the-top performances, Robert's deep melodic voice, and his ridiculously catchy lyrics that even Johnny seemed to know. They were on the verge of becoming the next big thing, touring on a much larger scale, which meant Johnny's time to do the job was limited. The pressure was getting to be too much. Patty Paradise was a part of that new pressure. Her interview had led to successive nights of drinking at the Minotaur's Horn. Janice was moving on with her life, so why not Johnny? And why not with Patty? She seemed interested in him, beyond the interview, fascinated by the fact that he was living his first afterlife. But Johnny couldn't help but wonder if Patty's interest was sincere. She had motivations for getting to know him. Girl was stupid sexy, but Johnny also wondered if he was really into her, or simply lonely. The electric hum of a guitar being plugged into an amplifier brought Johnny out of his daze, brought the crowd from the bar close to the stage. Johnny crept around the speakers to get a better look at the small sea of people, tight black t-shirts, thick framed glasses, studded leather wristbands, spiked dog collars. Johnny spotted Janice stage right next to a red velvet wall, sipping on a drink. Her hair was pulled back, and she had on a vintage David Bowie t-shirt. She'd gotten it at a concert when she was 12. Johnny remembered. She had 2 cups of coffee that day. She told him about it. He remembered her lotion, her tattoos, the way she looked at him over the rim of her cup. This was the first time he'd seen Janice in person since the night he died. A girl wearing pigtails, tiny pink tank top, short plaid skirt, and knee-high stockings screamed, "I love you, Meat Pants!" The band of 4 walked on stage. "Are you ready to get skull-fucked?" Robert Fouquet grabbed the mic with one hand and held a plastic skull out to the crowd with the other. The band launched into the radio hit. Guitars screeched that alarm clock melody, which ended in a 3-minute jam session that featured good old Buckskin biting his lower lip, assuming a power stance and thrusting his crotch into the eye socket of the skull. Johnny rolled his eyes. What a douche. How could Janice be into this guy? The song ended. The crowd chanted the band's name. A pink tank top flew up on stage. Robert tossed it to the drummer. The drummer stood on her stool, stripped off her t-shirt, threw it into the audience, put on the tank top. "Hang on to your panties, ladies," Robert said. "We're about to slip something into your drinks. I got roofied a few weeks ago by that girl right there." Robert pointed to Janice, blew her a kiss. She raised her glass at him, downed it. "This one goes out to her. It's called Roofie Me With Your Love." Johnny shook his head. Janice and Robert already had their own inside jokes, their own banter. He'd never dedicated a song to her, never read her poetry. The only thing Johnny had given to her were those little origami flowers once when she was having a bad day. But now Johnny had the power to give her something else, the power to make her happy, the power of love. He reached into his satchel and pulled out his department-issued crossbow, then pulled back the string, locked it into place, and loaded a golden arrow. Johnny positioned himself on the other side of the speakers, nearly spilling the beer he'd opened a few minutes before. Meat Pants played the catchy tune. The crowd, swaying in unison, sang along with Robert, who was facing Janice. Johnny's head bobbed to the music and his foot tapped to the beat. He was disgusted with himself, and he stomped his foot on the floor, accidentally knocking over his beer. That didn't matter. All that mattered was the job. Johnny stared at Janice, his heart shattered, and a voice inside him screamed when he would squeeze the trigger. But Johnny's previous thought was wrong. All wrong. The spilled beer did matter, because the liquid had splashed onto wires at his feet, and one of those wires was exposed. Just before he could pull the trigger, a shock of electricity shot through his body, which forced him to bite off the tip of his tongue before his heart seized and he fell dead to the backstage floor. "Feels like your head's being stung by thousands of bees, huh?" Henrietta said when Johnny's soul arrived at Stick Station. "Don't worry, kiddo. The after effects aren't as bad as the bullet to the brain." "Thanks, Henrietta." Johnny scratched the back of his neck and head and face. His tongue felt like a dull blade had sliced through it. Everything was miserable. Johnny was ashamed at not accomplishing his mission and for being careless. The last thing he saw before his soul floated away were the lights flickering, the sparkle of the disco ball, Robert Fouquet humping the stage, and Janice dancing in the crowd of skullfuckers. Thank you.